as parents of this generation, we really are overprotective or avoidant. There are these two extremes that we see.
You have to build the child's trust in the child. Because I was a very timid child, and as I talked to you some time ago, that even if I heard a plane, I would go under the bed.
So parents also need to be vulnerable, be authentic.
Like when my father trusted me for the decision that I would take, I started trusting myself.
So, what is that thin line between consequences of a certain action and punishment?
Punishment gives heat and burns the child.
Children are a gift from God. But once they are gifted to us as parents, what is it that we do to nurture them, to care for that beautiful gift that God has given us? So today we have with us Mani Mistry Elavia. She is a child empowerment coach and a parenting coach and the founder of Beacon Light. So Beacon Light lightens a path for the parents and enlightens young minds. So please welcome Mani Mistry Elavia. Welcome, ma'am, to my podcast.
Thank you, Sona. Yes, and I think you said it's very true. It's a beautiful gift given to us.
Absolutely.
How we take care of the gift and nurture the gift is
up to us. And so there are a lot of parents who may not, may think that they are nurturing the gift beautifully well, but there are a few common issues that parents do face, and you are there to guide these parents. As a parenting coach, you've done that for more than 17 years now, right? Of course, I mean, I just had a conversation with you a while ago, and first of all, I found your life experience also very inspiring. And I thought that, when we are talking about emotional intelligence and social intelligence of children, it is so important to understand that the person who is coaching them or the person who is dealing with them has also had those life experiences to back up their claims and to truly empathize with what the child is going through. So, can you give us a small glimpse into your life journey and how you chose this path?
Yes. Two sides of the life journey. One is I was very lucky to have parents who gave me beautiful life experience. And I realized the worth of it when I was writing my book just few years ago. After I became a senior citizen, rather. Is why I have done what I have done, why I have been so bold, so courageous. Because I was a very timid child. And as I talked to you some time ago, that even if I heard a plane, I would go under the bed. And it was very difficult for people to hear what I was talking. I was so
Very
soft.
soft, right?
But my parents never made me feel that, oh, you are so timid. I learned to speak loudly or anything. But the way they nurtured me, and each time the way they gradually took me through the journey of life in taking decisions for myself, that I have become a very different person. Absolutely, it's like North Pole and South Pole. Just two examples. Like I talked about how timid I was. I have a problem with my eye. My eye degenerated while I was in college, and I could not use my right hand. Now, normally, a parent, maybe what I may have done also for my daughter, is would have become overprotective. That, okay, but my father, fortunately, he said, you want to go for an NSS camp? Go in the rural areas. No problem. He trusted the college and he trusted, most important, me. Because,
Right.
so, like it taught me that adversities, you should not give in to adversities.
Absolutely.
Take it up as a challenge.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
All those words, adversities and all were not, I mean, that word itself was not there, but the whole concept got fitted well into my mind.
Right, right, right. But it must
So
have
this,
come as quite a shock to you and your family. It must have been a very traumatizing experience.
no, we flowed with it.
Okay.
See, that's the thing, ne? And that's the attitude I have ingrained.
Right, right.
Once again, that if you flow with the situation, you don't get traumatized. Your reactions are very different. Accept, but move ahead.
So your feelings or your parents' feelings were validated that theek hai, it's okay to feel a little scared or worried that okay, what is how is she going to be? How is my daughter going to be? How am I going to be?
Yes.
Will I be fine? Will I be taken care of? But at the same time, that trust was placed in you that you will find your way. You will
Yes,
figure
exactly.
it out.
The second example was when I asked him, I had two options, and what is the line I should select? What type of work I should select? My management or masters in social work. And even after doing masters in social work, whether I can get into the community where I may be out till 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock, 12 o'clock.
Right,
So
right, right.
the answer he gave me once is, don't do what we want, go where your heart says. And I trust you will take the right decision. Now, this was years ago. I'm 67. So when I was 20,
Right.
the parents' view, all that makes a lot of difference.
And exactly during those times where the only options were probably engineering, medical, and nothing pretty much apart from that.
Yeah, no, it was not for that. Like, I was thinking of getting into management.
Right, right, right.
But from management was so that I can earn and come up. That time,
Correct.
social work had no value. My salary was 613 rupees. Where if I had gone for management, I would have gone much better. But then he said, go where your heart is, ne? Why you want to be after money? I mean, choice is yours. Do whatever you want. But, those sentences built my trust in myself. And from there, if you could give me some time to talk about how trust could be built up at some point of time.
Absolutely. No, this is what I want to really just get into,
So-
dive into right away is because so I'm also a parent of a 2.5-year-old toddler, and we have a lot of friends, who are parents, and our kids are pretty much the same age. And around this age, around when the child starts crawling and just independently walking for a bit, um, of course they fumble, they fall down so many times, they get hurt. And as parents of this generation, we really are overprotective or avoidant. There are these two extremes that we see. Gira hai, girne do, I'm not going to look at all. Or what happened? Oh, little baby, come to me. Oh, what happened? Did you get hurt? Let me put a bandage, blah, 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 whatever it is, right? But what most parents do miss, and I've seen that, is just having that trust and faith in that child's consciousness कि उसका consciousness उसे खुद guide करेगा.
Right.
But I can just pave that pathway for the child to access the consciousness. So I wanted to ask you, first of all, how important it is to build that trust and to give that trust or gift that trust to the child, and how do you do it?
Yeah, I think what you said is very important. You have to build the child's trust in the child. Now, how will the child start trusting himself or herself is when they realize that you trust the child. Like, when my father trusted me for the decision that I would take, I started trusting myself. And this is how the child builds trust in oneself also. But very often, sometimes what we do as parents is, okay, we have to give responsibility age specific. And it's
Right.
okay if they failed,
Right.
as long as it's not a life and death question. It's okay if they fail. So what? Because it's best to fail in a family environment, in a secure environment. because then you are getting support rather than being overprotective, and the child can't cope with a failure when they are alone, when they are going to a hostel or somewhere. So that becomes very important. So building trust, like, and how can that trust be built is, once I think the child also has to have certain belief that my parents are always there with me, they trust me, and I'm heard. See, that also, how a trust is built is not just trust. Like,
Correct.
I'm important.
Correct.
My image will increase when I'm thinking that my enhanced when I'm thinking that I am important. So how is a parent listening to the child? How is the parent helping the child find a way out? How is the parent involving the child in decision making
I think that's
at
very
different
important.
stages?
Right.
Because many children cannot take decisions.
Absolutely.
So it can start from what dress you may wear. May not just say go to the shop and say, oh, now you select any dress.
Right.
But out of this dress, what do you want to select?
Right.
From there, you can move on gradually as a teenager, even into certain family decisions. What to buy, when to buy. And we can talk about the pros and cons.
But this doesn't usually happen.
But when it happens, it is very useful. Because then the child also learns. Because when the child says, perhaps this is good, that is good, then you can talk about the
Pros and cons.
pros and cons.
So you're basically teaching the child how to make decisions.
Yes.
Based on logic as well as heart.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So you're saying that this has to start from very early childhood.
Absolutely.
What age would you say is the right age to help the child understand that there is trust? We have trust in you, and therefore you can trust yourself. So at what age do you feel this should begin?
I feel at the age of 3 or so also you can start very subtly. You may do it earlier also, but at 3 or so also you can start very, like you give a child something which to do the child may drop
Right.
or do anything, even a toddler.
Right. Absolutely.
But then not grumble. Then not say, oh, I knew you will not be able to do. It's okay. This is not the way it should be done. Sure, I'll show you how to do it. Of course, it needs patience. It needs time. It's easy to say, then do. But it's
And
a
you have to be
responsibility we
ready.
have taken
Yes.
for the child.
Absolutely.
The other thing is the trust gets built up. See, the child also becomes trustworthy. See, when you talk of trust, is keeping word. Many times we say, I'll give you this if you
Do this.
do this. And then you keep on prolonging.
So we feel that the child will forget.
Which the child will not.
The child.
But the child will know that I can give false promises.
Right.
Yes, Mama, I'll study. Don't worry. Next time I'll study well.
This
Let
is
me
so
go for a
important.
picnic.
This is so important. What you just said, because so many teenagers, parents of teenagers come with this complaint that हाँ बोलता है लेकिन कुछ करता नहीं है. और
Because हमने बचपन में क्या किया है?
हाँ.
Even the child should know that if you don't keep the word, you have a certain consequences.
Consequence.
Non-humiliating. But there is a consequence to breaking your word.
So one you're saying is trusting yourself and building. The parents have to make sure that the child builds trust in themselves by trusting them, by involving them in decision making, and at the same time trusting others and also oneself to keep promises and commitments.
Once the child starts trusting what the parents have said they will do, the child will start trusting others. If the child can't trust the parent, how will the child trust anybody else?
Right.
Of course, it is with critical. At the same time, a critical thinking also needs to be incorporated.
True. So what is that thin line between consequences of a certain action and punishment or a harsh punishment that can lead to damage emotionally for the child?
What we say is punishment gives heat and burns the child. While when you talk of consequences, it is like correction also. You talk about, see, because you didn't do, this is a consequence. And a consequence doesn't have to be humiliating. The consequence doesn't have to be very threatening,
Right. Right.
you know, mentally or physically. It's like, okay, you are not going to get the breakfast of your choice if you are not going to get up on time for school. Otherwise, every Sunday we can make a breakfast of your choice, then this becomes a consequence.
Got it.
Because you did not get up, sorry, this time we'll make breakfast away. See, the child is not going at a loss. It's not harming.
Correct.
But there is a consequence. Or if you break this toy, you are not going to get this type of toy again. See, very often, you will get angry and then we may buy again. That we need not do. Or if the child falls down, if the child is hurt a little, don't go there, you will fall. The child falls, you immediately run and I told you not to fall, not to run. Huh? And you clean. No. As long as the child is not bleeding too much,
Profusely.
that's
Yeah.
okay. Now you take care of yourself. Go wash the wound.
Have you come across any such experiences where the punishment has been very severe or, as you said, humiliating? Any cases you've dealt with?
Yes. One is blaming the child in front of everybody. When a guest comes, no, today he is not going to interact with, he's not going to play with your child. Because he's not done his homework.
It's shaming, no?
It is shaming.
Yeah.
And that has to be an absolute no-no. Because that angers the child and I don't think the child will improve. It's not correction. I think he or she, both, may become more,
Rebellious.
yes, rebellious.
But parents do that a lot in India, especially, no? That in front of everyone, the child is shamed a lot. For example, look at this person through comparison as well.
Comparison is
Iska
another
bachcha dekho. Look, why can't you become in front of people, in front of family? They feel it's a motivator.
Yeah, they wrongly feel it is, especially in PTA.
Right.
For my daughter, when I used to go, how many times I have told you not to do this? Why still you are doing it? And there are all the class friends and the parents sitting.
So the self-esteem gets affected.
Yes. And I think if we build on the self-esteem and we have a heart-to-heart talk, one thing I have found very useful while working in the orphanage also and while working with my child is, I never knew it would be so impactful, is a heart-to-heart talk. We've melted people, melted hard nuts, what you may call hard nuts, by a heart-to-heart talk. It
So-
takes time, but it does work.
So when you say heart to heart,
I genuinely don't want to punish you,
got it. Got it.
but I can't help. So why don't we have a more positive relationship? See, because where I was working, the children were very mischievous, unmanageable.
Okay.
And what happened was, everybody was getting angry. Everybody was blaming. There was somebody suggested for a practice of black stars. So first I said,
as a-
just get those charts out when I joined. I don't want any black stars and all. And the children were just not ready. And they felt that you are trying to break our unity by forming groups as to which group gets less black stars and all that.
Okay.
So we sat down and we had this talk. And in 3 months, there was, we didn't have black stars, but we had golden and silver stars. And let's see who has more of that, which group. And when all the groups got, I went and bought a golden cloth. And I made a big star and put on the wall. And some people went and kissed.
Ooh.
So this is what the children need, appreciation. Appreciation of what they do, not you as a person.
So action versus individual.
Yeah.
I'm appreciating you for this action.
So why only negative consequences?
Right.
Talk of positive consequences, charts, marks, even for an individual child. what you have gained and what reward you will get if you have done these tasks every day.
Right, right.
So these are positive.
Reinforcement. Speaking of appreciation, because, of course, parents are reading and listening to a lot of parenting coaches, and coaches do talk about validation, appreciation. But what happens or ends up happening in reality sometimes is over appreciation.
Yeah, over appreciation. I agree. No, there are two things. One is we think daily tasks don't require appreciation, and I've learned from my own daughter. You never appreciated how I went on doing. Now, what she did was, her friends would all go to discotheques and all. She, in her own mind, thought, my dad doesn't like. I mean, she thinks that I'm a different variety of person, I will pamper. But my dad does not like, and so I will not go. But she never told us. Once in a way, she just mentioned. So, what she wanted is, wow, I really appreciate that you are not going out with your friends when they go to a disco or when they go at night. And we somehow missed out.
Okay.
So, at a later point of time, she did say, okay, there are certain things which I do, which you don't, you point out some mistakes of mine, but you've never appreciated these things. She was very insightful. She's given me a lot of insights, to be fair.
I'm sure. Yeah.
So, sometimes we take it for granted that, so what we believe is you should appreciate what the child does as part of the regular daily course also. Appreciate that you have been following the system, or you have been, doing your daily chores. That also is important. But when we keep on appreciating the individual, oh, you are so great, then there's a burden of always being a good person.
Exactly.
That should not. So it's the action which has to be appreciated and not the individual.
That is why you're saying,
And that burden I have myself experienced.
okay, if you don't mind, can you share that?
No, I can cope with everything. I'm a strong person. From a timid, I had moved on to quite a strong person. So then my image always had to be, I can't be a weak person. I can't cry. I can't show my emotions. And then when I went in ISETs for a tea group thing, and I had gone to the graveyard of my uncle who had died in an air crash and came back. And she asked me, so you must be feeling very sad. I said, no, I'm not feeling sad. And I started on my process. That time she broke my... She says, think back. How often you've tried to have this whole shell of being strong. So I didn't suffer per se, but that, yes, I have to be that person. Or I have to be that goody-goody person.
Yeah, it doesn't allow you to be vulnerable at times. And does it also?
That is one more thing, that it's okay to make mistakes. It's okay to be vulnerable.
Correct.
I, as a parent, am also making mistake. Are we ready to tell our children?
So parents also need to be vulnerable, be authentic.
Be authentic.
Right? That, okay, I mean, this is, even the validation and the appreciation also needs to be genuine, no? For every little thing, you can't keep appreciating.
Then it's lost its value.
Correct.
Then it's lost its value.
Correct. Absolutely. So, as we're talking about emotional intelligence of children, even so IQ and EQ, there's a lot of talk about the two. IQ is, of course, the intelligence quotient, and emotional quotient is EQ. A lot of people with very high IQ, who have probably topped their schools, colleges, are very, very successful in their work, the work that they're doing. However, they are unable to climb the ladder.
Exactly. Exactly.
And there's a lot of frustration. So, where do you see?
And they're not the popular people who can win over.
Correct.
It's actually what is believed is at the top, in top position, it is 85% of EQ which works.
Yeah.
which helps, and only 15% of
IQ.
the IQ. And that is very important. And I normally explain to the parents that it's like this 5 fingers. IQ is 1 finger, a very important index finger, with which you can do a lot of work.
Right.
And SQ and EQ are the other, the thumb and the second finger. So again, you can pick up. And if these 3 fingers work well, then we can make the best benefit of the other 2 things like resources, opportunities. So these are like different fingers which are very important. And your index finger can do only limited. How much weight can it pick up?
Absolutely.
But when you have the other 2, and it's not only work, it's personal life. Personal life also.
Correct. Correct.
EQ and SQ plays a very important role.
So SQ is social quotient, and in your book you have covered the social quotient as well. So for our audiences to understand, what is the difference between
SQ and EQ.
is SQ and EQ?
Emotional quotient is self-awareness, self-management, how aware I am of my own emotions, my own responses. Once I'm aware, how I manage my emotions and responses. That also, it's how you have been taught in the childhood,
Right.
how you have been supported in managing. These are just 2 things which one talks of, just 2 examples. While when we talk of SQ, it is how do you manage relationships with others? How aware are you about the feelings of others? How can you gel with others? That is SQ. How can you work in a team?
Very important.
That is SQ. And both are again not overlapping. If I am aware of my own nature, what hurts me, I can be a jealous person.
Correct.
But I have to be aware that this particular thing, creates envy in me. But once I'm aware, then I know how to, that, no, this is the way I have to work. So then my teamwork, I'll be much better. Because I will understand the team in a better way.
So when children,
Also risk taking.
correct.
If I am confident about myself, I'll be ready to take risk. If I'm not confident of myself, so when we are talking, the CEOs at the top also, how much risk are they ready to take?
And maybe that is why a lot of people don't get into entrepreneurship as well, because it is a risk-taking career choice. However, so these people in top positions, you said that 85% of them is EQ and 15% is IQ.
Important.
Important.
EQ is 85%.
Right.
That's what Daniel Goleman and others have also been.
Right. So as children, how do you shape a child's EQ? Let's say, so fine, of course, parents are very, very important, but the parents also, they are maybe they themselves are not very equipped, and then suddenly a child is there, and now we have to start helping our child with their emotional quotient, where I myself lack that emotional quotient. So for these parents who literally have to start from a negative, what does a journey look like?
It is tough because first of all, the parents have to accept. And the parents have to come to somebody to realize. Otherwise, it doesn't happen.
And
Like if I am not aware, like I know of one lady, I went for a party and her husband had just bought a mobile for her, a good expensive mobile. And she and her son had come. The husband was not there. And so she said, I bought this mobile, and somebody took and the mobile dropped on the floor. It didn't break or anything. But she almost became white with fear. She just lost the entire color on her face. And not only her, the son. So I said, why? No, toot gaya to what will he say? Now her nervousness also spread to the son,
correct.
who was so scared.
Correct.
Of course, the husband was hot-tempered, but she could have handled it another way. So the child exactly was picking up that nervousness from the mother. Now this had to be brought out to her. Now how, till the parent doesn't come, who will bring it to the notice? And that's why it is important if parents can take help and they can be
Guided in
Guided.
the right direction.
guided in the right way. It is not easy to change at that age.
Because relatives,
To keep cool.
friends, family are not going to bring it up to that person because it may sound offensive.
Yes.
And they themselves may not know how to.
They may also not be aware.
Exactly. Exactly.
They may also not be aware.
But this anger management, anxiety nowadays, every second person has some or the other symptoms of anxiety. And most of the times, anxiety does come from a space where you're constantly thinking about a catastrophic event that is going to happen. So, when you're helping parents also with developing the emotional children.
If parents come to us, they can be helped.
Right.
If parents come to us, or even as we are having, if parents are at least listening to certain webinars or podcasts or something, then they will, because nowadays everybody is using YouTube. So
right.
if they listen and it helps, but it's not easy, but still. But there are ways of, coping with anxiety also. One is giving meditation. The other is, I tell the parent when they get very hassled, is you visualize being in a safe space. You take any place and teach your child also that when he is very anxious or she is very anxious. Like one of the person said, tower of this thing, Pisa. Or another person said, seaside. So just visualize that you are there and cool yourself, and it will help a lot. So then the belly breathing
Right.
exercises, like you want me to explain belly breathing here, or we just
So
talk?
belly in,
Yeah.
belly up.
Put your hand on the belly and the breathe. Then from the mouth, in a whistling way,
Okay.
in the same amount of time, you breathe out, and it helps.
It's soothing.
It is very soothing, and it suits the child, especially when the child is throwing tantrums. And once you teach the child also learns by themselves.
Yes. And at any
And
age.
it is cooling. It is very cooling.
It
It
is.
makes you feel cool. So there are those various techniques, which then affirmations. Affirmations help a lot. Now again, affirmation has helped given me confidence at different situations. But so even if the mother starts saying that no, I can handle my child positively. I can trust my child. My child. So there are a list of affirmations which can be kept, based on what she wants.
Right.
And those affirmations can have an impact on the subconscious, provided you are not saying it like a mantra. You are trusting that and saying. They can be taught. So those affirmations are there. Visualization is there. Then not immediately responding. So what? I was afraid that, but what would have happened? And if that happened, what more would have happened?
Correct. Go till the end.
And what go till the end?
Right.
So these are the things we make them practice.
But do they follow it?
Some do, seriously.
Some do.
The fact that a parent has come to us
Means they are desperate
means
right now.
they are ready to go ahead.
Correct.
Maybe one of the partner will follow, and the other partner has just come because he or she has been.
So how do you now? This is another very interesting, a segment that we can dive into is the difference of opinion on parenting between the parents. That the mother wants something different for the child, maybe in terms of disciplining, upbringing, nutrition, whatever it is. The father wants something else or has a different viewpoint, and both of them are not on the same page, or sometimes the families are not on the same page.
Families also not.
So how difficult are these situations to tackle? How easy or difficult are
First of all, the other person reacts. Like if the mother feels this is what is the best for the child and the father doesn't feel, mostly it is a conflict and a reaction. Very rarely does the mother or the father try to convince in a gradual way. And that's where the whole that's the end.
Right.
Because then there are two sides and the child feels guilty. So number one, don't speak in front of the child. Don't fight in front of the child.
Right.
Because I have seen psychological test results where it has come out clearly in those tests that my parents fight because of me. Because of me. Now, actually, both parents, yes, they are fighting not because of me, means it's not because he or she is the culprit, but because they want to do what they think is the best. But the child doesn't understand. The child feels, and child is very sensitive. The child will not say verbally, but it does come out in the test. There are many things that they won't say openly. That is also what parents have to understand. That even if they are anxious, even if they are upset, one has to understand from the body language, from what they are doing. And don't expect a child. Sometimes the child is very blunt, but don't expect the child to always articulate. Sometimes I feel my mother will feel very bad. My father will feel very bad.
So guilt, shame, anger.
And so what for these, ne? Parents have to have talks and come to a consensus. And take help if required.
Which is
Because-
the problem, right? Because parents, if their relationship is not very, they don't work as a team. They don't have a base understanding between amongst themselves, then of course it does.
It's disciplining, and then it is a child with learning disability, hyperactivity. Because even the grandparents say, "Arey, she's very smart, she's very clever, but she doesn't want to study." But they are not realizing that she has attention deficit disorder.
Right.
And that is why she is not paying attention.
This happens a lot, ma'am.
Yes.
And I've seen that when I was working as a remedial educator as well. That the first of all, of course, awareness is low, but this is a very common denial that parents and families go through. That my child is very smart, very intelligent, बस इसको लिखना नहीं है, lazy है, careless
Exactly.
mistakes कर रहा है. So now these children, they develop a separate set of issues because now when you talked about trust, no adult is trusting them that I genuinely am unable
Unable
to
to
do it.
I am bad.
I am bad, correct.
It becomes like I am bad.
So it does become very difficult, and these learning disabilities unfortunately are then discovered at a much later stage in 10th and 12th when they probably
It's
need
too late to do remediation.
So how do you when parents come with this complaint? In fact, very recently I had a parent come. The child is in 8th standard and she is a single mother. Well, about to be single, right? That the parents are separated, and she was worried that the child is just lazy, careless, not motivated, or was worried that it's because of a family situation that the child is behaving in this particular manner. So they asked us, can you help her with time management, goal setting, etc. But it was quite late at 8th standard to even tell them that, why don't you get her tested? Why don't you get a proper assessment done for your child? And I got a very, harsh response that, what do you think, my child's stupid or dumb? Or, to explain learning disabilities also is an issue sometimes. So how do you tackle such situations?
It's difficult. One father just went and banged his hand against the wall.
What are you saying?
Yes. The test results were there.
Okay.
Test results were there. And he said that my wife doesn't know how to teach.
So blamed on the mother.
But the test results he was not ready to accept. The results have come this way because my wife doesn't know how to teach. My son is absolutely normal. And you know what that lady had done? What a mess, which people have to realize is she went on borrowing money because she could not use her own money to do remediation for him. And she got into high debts.
Oh.
And ultimately, he had to pay. Ultimately. Where everything would have been peaceful. And what was the impact on the child? So they don't listen, you cannot help. They do not. Some parents we try to convince, we try to show, explain, and they listen. But
think a
it's at
lot
the cost of the child.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. It's sad. It's more awareness which needs to be spread in society. There are certain things which have to be, at least now everybody is aware of learning disability.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that it's okay, different people are different. Learning disability children also go quite up the ladder.
Of course.
It's at different levels. And you are saying it is late. We had a child, she was not learning disability, she was slow learner. In the orphanage where I was working, the moment we started teaching, she would have tears in her eyes, tap, 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 tap. Huh? In 9th standard. We never thought that she will pass in the SSC. Somehow she passed. And she doesn't get extra benefits that an LD child gets, learning disability child gets. Today she is a nurse and a very good nurse. She picked up with remediation. So it's never too late.
It's never
as
too
long as the environment is encouraging and supportive. She could have been much better.
Correct. And the effort it takes is probably more at a later stage, but you're right, it's never too late.
But like when we sponsored her for nursing, the question of some of the trustees, will she be able to cope? But we will let her do. We had an excellent set of trustees. They did it. She did it. And I'm so happy she's so well settled.
It's wonderful.
There was one more child. That was a younger one who's now doing BSc nutrition, and she wants to go ahead and do somewhere where she's ultimately called a doctor in nutrition.
Wonderful.
But that is because the environment is
Supportive. So, one is direct efforts being taken. Come, sit, study. We'll do tracing, whatever it is that it takes to teach a child through play or through books and reading and watching videos and everything. And the other is just providing an environment where the child
non-threatening.
non-threatening environment where the child himself or herself starts generating that kind of a curiosity, interest and motivation to learn.
You know, when you're talking, this is the first time I'm thinking, subconscious may also be playing a very important role.
I'm sure.
Though I know that there are actual neurological problems for a learn, but the subconscious can play a role, at least to some extent, to help them.
I'm sure because subconscious mind, first of all, it's very intangible. A lot of people know that it exists, but it's hard to understand it. But yes, we do pick up a lot of cues. Like right now, we are sitting, but our subconscious is picking up right from the temperature of the room to the sounds that we are hearing outside. And
Right.
once the environment has a complete, safe, secure zone, then I'm sure the learning is faster.
Yeah, because if it is an encouraging environment that you can study, the subconscious does play a role. There is another case where the child was really, she had very severe learning disability. No tuition teacher was ready to teach. And what the mother was doing was, mother was studying and then teaching. Now she could not cope up with the new curriculum and all. So she would go to a tuition teacher, ask for help and teach. She did that till school. And just now that girl has just finished her BMA.
Oh, wow.
And in college, she started doing by herself. See where she has reached. Literally, and that other child, the impact was that the other child felt that my mom plays no role for me because she was smart, so she let her study.
Right.
But it did help in that girl. Today, I admire that. Of course, she's going for classes and all, but she doesn't require the mother's help.
Right.
And now she is getting into management. So you can.
Beautiful, absolutely.
So this is where environment, this is where right parents. Now, fortunately for her, the father did not play an active role, but the father was encouraging. He allowed things to happen. So
Right.
the role of both the parents plays a very important part.
So speaking of role of both parents, a lot of mothers do complain that they are burnt out because a lot of burden is on the mother to do almost everything, and the father basically has an involvement as far as the financial providing is concerned and playtime. Whenever he is free and available. And that does lead to a lot of clashes between the couple as well. So, what is it that you can probably shed a light on this where the parents can really support each other to also help create that environment in the home?
See, one is, allow support, like in terms of, some of the home tasks could be like give it away, keep help to do those home tasks because that physically gives you some time. The other thing is the mother has to have time for herself. She has to have some time for herself.
Very important.
And whether she can be encouraged even by the father. Because see, I can say the father can take studies and all, but it doesn't work. He'll say, I am coming at this time. So practically, there's a lot which fathers can do.
Correct.
My husband has played a good role in terms of, my daughter, helping out in my daughter's education also.
Right.
But to ask is one thing, and for them actually to do. But at least if they cannot, to create space for the mother in different ways. Go out, have outings. Give some time for outings. Not only play with the child in the evening when you come.
Right.
Go as a family out. So
Right.
that a mother also has
Correct. More chance to just
more chance to
de-stress.
to de-stress. And she has to assert herself that yes, I want to. We very rarely assert ourselves. Mothers are given. Mothers take the least. So somewhere we tell them that first self-care is very important. Only if you are happy and fulfilled will you be able to take care of
Absolutely.
the.
Absolutely.
So that's case by case. They can be helped. Like see what makes you feel happy, what makes you feel relaxed. Have some me time somewhere. Go for a walk.
And that is probably what the child is also learning when they see the mothers
Yes.
caring for themselves. The child also learns a very important part of self care.
Absolutely. Yeah, there's this one. It's a single mother. Single mother, and she separated when the child was still, I think, around 1 year old or less. And that mother used to write gratitude journal every day. And she was in a pathetic condition, medically also quite unwell and all. So the child was watching as the child grew. And then sometimes she stopped in terms of
stopped
all the
journaling.
child care and everything.
Okay.
The child was just 4 years old or so. Says, Mom, why have you stopped writing something you were writing?
Oh, wow.
Because you said that this is helping you. So when this is helping you, why you stopped?
This is so valid because you're right, actually. As mothers, the things that we do for ourselves, meditation, or I have also seen myself sometimes falter in my practices, right? doing meditation every day for 2-3 months and then just quitting meditation cold turkey for a few more weeks or months just because you're so busy with work, childcare, everything, and my kid does see the difference, right? Mama, sit like this, she
Oh, why have you stopped doing it?
why you not do this? And it makes you the kids are so observant and they are picking, and their subconscious is also picking on every little thing that you're doing as a parent.
Yes.
Ma'am, you spoke about 2-3 instances of single parents. Can we talk about that particular section? Because the environment in a single parent household or a family where there are a lot of conflicts also, it's quite different. It may not be as encouraging and nurturing. Or
It varies. It varies. Sometimes I feel if there is a regular conflict, when a parent moves out, there is more peace. But the child wants both. I have seen in a single parent adoption also. There is no conflict. Where the granny says, I'm like your father. The child says, but I want a father.
okay,
Well, so it is personalities.
got it.
And then another child says, I'm not bothered. You are my mother, father, everybody. It
But
makes
what
a
is
difference.
the majority? Because a lot of people tell parents who are struggling that instead of raising a child in a conflicting environment, why don't you raise the child as two separate individuals who are happy?
Agree. And let the child be with both.
Okay.
Let the child be with both.
Okay.
As long as the other person is not very toxic. If they are going to keep on saying negative, it is another thing. But at least the child will grow up in a peaceful environment. It will be difficult, but the child has to be helped.
Correct.
It's like you are not well. If you have got some illness or something, you have to accept the illness. Like I cannot see with my right eye. I have to accept I can't see with my right eye.
Got it.
But then move ahead. But rather than being fearful or being afraid of the implications and the child growing up in that whole tense environment, it is better. I'm not saying everybody should, just toss
Their
step it, but things do not work, then that's a better option and you have to let your child, teach your child to accept. Take help. Take professional help.
Yeah. Actually, most children also, as they become a little older, they themselves suggest the parents that why don't you guys just separate? You will be happier.
There was this one case, he's in 10th, but what he said is, let me finish 10th standard and then you move out. But it came to such a situation, so he said, Mama, you go. But the thing is, you should not put the parents should not put them against the other parent.
Which is very
Crucial.
Yes.
That we have to, whatever may have happened, you can protect. Like if the father is an alcoholic, you may not allow the child to keep going very often and, maybe, be worried like if he is all alone. But you need not keep putting him down.
So it is important to maintain respect and dignity and grace. At the same time, helping the child understand what to do to protect themselves
Yes.
from
Because-
such attacks.
Because ultimately it's his father or his mother or her father or her mother.
Correct.
It could be the woman on the other side.
Correct. Absolutely. Very interesting.
I feel that is a much better option. That's what I have realized. But
hard
it does
decision.
not. But it does not work when one partner acts tough.
One partner?
Acts tough.
Correct. That, what, I'll deal with the situation. I'll go through this.
No, I will not allow the child to meet the other person.
That's where the whole custody battle and everything, the legal battles kind of.
In spite of the custody, is not allowed. There are times, and that the child suffers, ne? The mother doesn't want to, keep on fighting about it.
So basically, what you're also trying to say is that whatever happens between the parents can remain behind closed doors, but at the same time, being open and transparent about crucial matters.
Yes, yes, but at times you have to say, okay, yes, we cannot
It's
get
not
along.
working out. Correct.
Prepare the child.
Correct.
And these things happen. We are not the only person. You are not the only person. These things happen in life. You have to prepare the child before separation. And that both will be there for you.
Correct.
Both will be there for you.
Correct.
So a lot of maturity is required.
I think that's what when Amir Khan and Kiran Rao, I think when they got separated, they even released this statement to the public that to our children, we are there.
Yes.
We may have our own differences, but to them we are always available. We are always there, and we'll always stay loving parents, and we will set parent.
They were sensible.
Correct.
Both of them.
Correct. It's a very, because these, it is a very important topic in our generation, where there are more divorces, there are more separations, there are more conflicts, and unfortunately the EQ of people, well, people are more aware now, definitely, but at the same time there is so much ambition, aspirations for success. So there is a lot of frustration also when you have failures, and your EQ is not that high to.
EQ, we have started talking. So our generation time, EQ was not taken into consideration. So when our generation, my generation is past, it's your generation.
No, you're in this generation only. You're but so lively and
Yeah, I'll always be like,
very.
I never feel I am what age I am. But the thing is, the present generation hopefully has a better EQ. Who bothered about EQ when you grew up? Mature parents would have, by default, helped you develop a good EQ.
Correct.
But there was nothing very conscious.
Absolutely.
And the whole world is changing so fast. That change is also. And now people have to realize that separation is part of some people's life, something that you have to accept.
Yeah, before when we were speaking, you did mention that sometimes it's okay to let the child also know that parents fight, people fight, there are conflicts, and every time we can't keep protecting the child from the realities of the world.
As long as you come together again after the fight, as long as you are not mean. See, fight could be differences, you talk, but then you start labeling, or you don't
Respect.
respect, then that's a different thing. You are neither perfect, and differences will come.
Correct.
But of course, we should try not to handle it in a more positive way, because the child also learns that. But we are human.
Absolutely. I think that acceptance being the key word here is very important.
And the other thing is, yes, at what age the child is also makes a lot of difference. Our fights. What is the mental state?
The ability to understand conflict to begin with, because a lot of people who are clients in their mid-30s or late 30s right now, they do come up with this, childhood memories that because my parents used to fight at a certain age, I became very afraid of conflict and confrontation. To be very honest, I personally am very, very scared, and I have been working on this for quite some time, is whenever I hear a raised voice of anyone, even if it's somebody just speaking very loudly. That's why I'm also very soft spoken, right? But somebody speaks loud voice. There's a slight, moment where there's a pushback from within, And then again, have to get into awareness, that come back to reality. And this is probably coming from these childhood experiences where parents would shout or yell or scream. But the confrontation, like how exposed should a child be to understand the meaning of confrontation, but at the same time not be traumatized by it?
So petty fights, petty arguments, the child has to be exposed to it. Like I said, being very mean, or digging out something very negative should be avoided. Digging out, see, that is another thing. Ne? You dig out some past, dig out something very negative, talk something about the father. Your father was always like that. You are also behaving the same way. All these
Personalizing
things,
that
personalizing would not. And I tell you the other thing, having a very calm, cool environment also brings about the same response as the response of yours. Because I was very scared of I used to get very upset with any conflict I had with my friends. Now I can. Because I was brought up in an environment where I told my parents, "You are not going to fight in front of us." And they did not. So for me, everything was calm, cool. And then when I grew up and when I had my own friends, and some of these fights came up, very close friends. With others, I am not bothered. I used to get very upset. Then I started thinking,
It was new for you.
how can we have this type of fights? So that way, it's protected,
It's a dichotomy.
exposure and protection, overprotection. There has to be always a balance.
Basically, everything in moderation. Everything, you expose the child to pretty much needs to be in moderation.
And a child is resilient, ultimately to they, but
You're right. They are.
but these are, it's how you discipline, how you communicate, how you correct. Everything has its. The child basically has to trust itself,
Correct.
himself or herself. Right. The child has to trust others, which the child will learn from starting trusting her own family members. See, very often we're like injection. We go to work. Like, अरे उसको कुछ दूसरे रूम में ले जाओ ना, तब तक मैं जाती हूँ. That is escapism. The child doesn't realize.
You're right.
Or you go, doctor will put injection on me. No injection. And then the doctor puts. Instead, can we say, yes, you have to put the injection, but I am with you, it will not pain, it is something. So then the child learns that my parent doesn't lie, number one, and that there are certain things in life I have to face.
Very
two
important.
learnings.
You're right.
And my mother is with me, or my father is with me.
That I have to face this, but I'm still secure. I'm in an environment that is secure. And at any age, even maybe a newborn baby also, you can, or maybe not a newborn, but a 1-year-old, also you can tell the child that, okay, you know what, you have to take this injection. I'm sorry, I'm there with you. I'm sorry you have to go through this slight pinch, but
when you're talking of newborn, I feel very often we feel newborn doesn't understand anything. So you need not bother. Of course, right from the womb, the newborn has its understanding. But like it's in the first 6 months, if you immediately pay attention, it's been studied that if you immediately pay attention to a child crying, and respond, it makes the child secure. The child learns to self-soothe, sleep well, and stop becoming cranky as it grows up.
wow.
Now what we will say, don't spoil the child by immediately taking the child in hand.
Correct.
But it is not true for the first 6 months. In the next 6 months, you can, allow the child to cry as long as the child is not in trauma or in pain. But for the first 6 months, this is very necessary.
This brings up this topic of especially sleep training. What method is that? I forgot, but cry it out, right? Where the child is left in a separate nursery
Yeah.
and cry it out till you fall asleep. And yes, it works for most parents because they get a good night's sleep after the child learns how to train themselves. But now that you're talking about this, that yes, you're right. I mean, the child also needs to feel that, you know what, I am safe, I'm secure.
It can cause behavior problems in future.
The
Crying out. It can cause behavior problems in the future. Because see, the child doesn't see. That's why in that book that I have written, I said what goes behind, which is not seen. Gastric trouble, hunger, all that can be seen. Diarrhea. But all these psychological aspects, it will be too late because the child is not telling you what is happening. It's just observing. And that's why in adopted children, the longer time you take to adopt a child, if the child care institute is not good, the child loses out a lot. If it's good, then they work on it.
For adopted parents who adopt, because they usually don't go through the initial journey of pregnancy and getting ready to introduce. I know that the adoption process in itself is quite long, and
Yeah.
it's very longer than a
yes.
pregnancy, definitely. But right from the child, that time the child is a newborn, like absolutely a day old, an hour old child, the journey is not there from the beginning. So, what is it that these parents can keep in mind when they meet the child for the first time they're going to see? And, when the child comes home, what are the things that parents should keep in mind?
So it depends on what age the child is coming. Ne? What they have to keep in mind, see, it could be an infant or it could be a 4-year-old child. A lot of attention has to be given to the child. When it's an infant, the absolute infant, 2-month-old will just take a few days. And normally, now all these things have got messed up. Otherwise, when I was working for adoption, we used to encourage parents to come and spend time with the child. So it's not a trauma from a nurse to
A parent.
a parent. Now it is said the child comes, the agency just takes an interview of the parent, and in 2 days the child is handed over. It's absolutely wrong. But
Is that so? Like,
now it is a big mess. That's a whole new separate story. You cannot. It's sad. But otherwise, nothing. You have to just start loving the child. For an older child, you may have to give a little space. They may cling or they may not want you to even give birth to them.
right.
It depends on what experience they've had.
Right.
Because if the child is 3-4-year-old, the child has come also much later. So you don't know what has gone ahead of that. But you start loving, and I have seen that the attachment comes immediately. And within some time, especially with an infant and all, it is within a month, you'll stop thinking that the child is adopted. And the child will not. And the elder sibling also becomes very loving.
Yeah.
Elder sibling becomes very protective.
That is good to know. That's very reassuring, actually.
Yes, elder sibling becomes. It depends on the way, like if some parent will say, Abhi, now this one is come, now they are not going to love you. If the external environment messes up, it's another thing. In a nuclear family, this will not happen.
Huh, you're right.
I have
because-
seen the elder sibling be very protective.
Very interesting. Very interesting. And also with adoptive parents, because the decision to become a parent has come very, very consciously. Of course, most parents who become parents now also, they decide first and then they try for a baby. But there's a lot of trial and error also that happens. And most children are also born without the knowledge, like, how did this um, a child come into my world kind of a situation. But they're also very conscious, and they really genuinely want a child,
Yeah.
right? So
The adopted.
intention, yes, yes.
Yeah.
The intention is very different. So I'm sure the
They're just
attachment.
waiting,
They're
waiting for the
waiting.
child.
They're
The
waiting.
attachment comes. Attachment comes. And earlier, at least when I used to work, na, that this visits made a lot of difference. Now the mother from MP adopts a child from Kerala.
Mhm.
So she can't even go very often. So it doesn't give. So this is making it very bit. What to say? It's not
It's not. It doesn't take care of the emotional
the
aspect.
emotional aspect.
I think we have covered a variety of topics, but what I've understood from our entire discussion so far is that, first of all, trust is very, very, very important.
Trust and security.
Trust,
That's the seed, the root. Not the root, rather the real seed of
absolutely,
emotional and social development.
absolutely, because for confidence in oneself, trust is required, security is required. For anger management, also trust and security is required. That I trust this person or the environment enough to not think of it as a threat or an attack to me.
Even for a teenager. If the teenager trusts the parents, if that communication and bond is grown, the teenager will listen to the parents. The teenager will open up. If the trust is not there, you are lost.
Correct. Then, of course, the child will end up hiding, lying, manipulating.
No, they feel lost. They will not. They will not trust the parent to come up with to share their
Yeah.
problems. Like my colleague, ex-colleague, like her son, he's adopted. Talks about how upset he is with one girl whom he liked, and then they broke off. Now, very rarely, but that's the relationship one needs to have.
Right, right,
Otherwise, where would he go? Means some of the other friend he may have talked to.
right, right.
But then one doesn't know what advice he would get, what support, what type of support.
So the environment has to be open, trusting, safe enough. Not just at teenage, but at any age.
Any.
At any age.
But it becomes very crucial for at teenage if you've not had from first.
Correct, correct, correct. So, ma'am, I know we've covered pretty much a lot. Is there anything you feel is not really talked about enough about emotional intelligence in children?
No, we've covered the most crucial thing is trust and this. Then it is giving scope for them to grow, giving scope for the child to fail, to independently grow. Intelligence will develop when you allow intelligence to bloom. Otherwise, it will remain like that closed pot.
Right.
So, opportunities.
And for that, it's a good idea to help the child understand it's okay to fail.
It's okay to fail.
And how to
You
deal
can
with it.
try. Expose the child to different things.
Correct.
Opportunity to be exposed.
Wonderful, ma'am. I mean, really, with the experience that you have, and not only from your work, but also your personal journey, and how, I can't, when you say that I was a timid child, I really can't relate.
But here is the child. Nobody could hear what I am speaking.
I mean, I really can't relate. It was so wonderful speaking with you, so easy, and so open, so authentic, genuine. I really, really thank you for being my guest here on Judge Me Not.
My pleasure. And it was good, communicating and sharing. The more we share, the more it will help the society.
Absolutely, absolutely.
So we are on a common mission to, spread what we are doing.
You're right. You're right.
Our thoughts. Thanks for inviting me.
Thank you so much for coming. And just on a last note, because you have founded Beacon Light, if you would like to share about how what is your approach and how you've helped people or how you're helping people.
See, if you see the name itself, I have kept it as Beacon Light. Beacon is the beacon on the lighthouse, which shows light, which shows the path. Because I believe that one cannot advise or completely handhold. So it's you show the path and help the person to help themselves. So whenever, and that is what coaching is all about.
Right.
And so that's why I decided on the name Beacon.
It is a beautiful name.
And same for the child. For the child also, enlighten them.
Correct.
And then the child will find its own way. We are not to decide what the child is going to do. Support the child, help the child bloom in the way as whatever flower it wants to become.
Beautiful.
Or go in the direction it wants to go. Like strengthen the wings so that it can fly
higher.
But ensure that child is rooted also.
That it's a need of the hour. And I'm sure a lot of children and parents would be benefited. I know they are. They have benefited a lot with you.
There's another lot which needs to, which I would say is teachers. The schools are not realizing the importance of training or supporting teachers. When the school approaches me, what they say is, you organize a talk, and then all the parents will come to you for coaching. Why? Because our teachers are frustrated and they don't know how to handle. So you need to coach the children, but the school does not take the responsibility. Nor is the teachers' training talking about the psychological aspects to that extent. They're talking about the normal
academic.
So after you ended, I'm going on.
That's okay.
Yeah. So they are not talking about, see, basically like, teenager, these are the hormonal changes, this, which you and I and everybody in the world knows.
Correct.
That's not the thing. How today's environment is impacting on the child. And the child is accordingly behaving. That the teacher has to understand. So that the teacher also, because I pity the teachers also. They get frustrated. Or they feel, humko kya karna hai? This is what we have to teach. But you have to accept the fact, like, Who Moved My Cheese now has to be written. I have written that book, Who Moved My Cheese, that small e-book for parents. But I think Who Moved My Cheese now needs to be written for the teachers.
Also, I would love to read that book.
So
I look forward to all my friends who are teachers.
So I'm trying to edit it properly, and because I've done it in a great way.
Let me know if you need any help.
It was a YouTube talk,
right,
which I later converted to a book.
Wonderful. I think you've really done amazing work. You are doing amazing work. And even at whatever stage of life, you're constantly doing more and more and more. And, it's just, I'm sure it must be very rewarding for you. So I'm truly, truly honored.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.